Rights. Welcome. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota statutes, section 13D.021, due to the declared local health pandemic. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the call roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Give me a second to pull up my list. Okay. So Commissioner Robbins.
Present.
Commissioner Devenish. Commissioner Devenish. Okay. Commissioner Stevens.
Present.
Commissioner Berquist.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Cobio.
Here.
Commissioner Fee.
Here.
Commissioner Fatahi. Actually, I don't think that is- Okay. Commissioner Hartz. Commissioner Hartz. Okay. Commissioner Linderman. Commissioner Linderman. Commissioner Lord.
Here.
Okay, got you there. Commissioner Shepard.
Present.
Commissioner Mokri. Commissioner Mokri. Commissioner Schumache.
Present.
Commissioner Schumache.
Present.
I got that. Commissioner Whitseth.
Present.
Thank you. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This
I'll be nine,
is Commissioner This is Commissioner Herkman. I'm present.
Commissioner Cindy Devenish is also present.
Okay, let me change those. 1 second, please. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 13. Okay, that's 13 commissioners. So I think we have quorum, so we can continue with the meeting.
Beautiful. Thank you. Can you please pull up the agenda, Matthew?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt by Commissioner Stevens.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Devenish.
Commissioner Stevens, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Cobia.
Yes.
Commissioner Shepherd,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Commissioner Fee, Commissioner Fee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Herkman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herkman, oh, sorry.
Ye-
Commissioner Schumache,
Yes.
Chair Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Widseth,
Yes.
Vice Chair Devenish,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stevens is yes.
Okay. And now we will move into the adoption is passed, so let's move into the acceptance of the minutes. And we'll allow a minute for everyone to review it. I'm sorry, Matthew, can you scroll slight faster? Thank you. Okay. Do we need any discussion, or can we have a motion to accept the minutes? Does everything look okay?
This is Commissioner Devonish. I move to accept the minutes.
We have a second?
Commissioner Lord,
Commissioner-
I need a second the motion.
Thank you.
All right.
Roll call?
Cobia, Commissioner Cobia,
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Commissioner Fee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Herkman,
Yes.
Commissioner Schumache,
Yes.
Chair Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Whitseth,
Yes.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Devonish,
Yes.
take them every step of the
and
way.
I vote yes. Motion passed by consensus.
Thank you. Matthew, do we have anyone for public comment?
Let me take a quick look. I don't see any other numbers registered, so I'm going to assume that there's no one from outside the commission of the city. If you are, please identify yourself, but it doesn't seem like we do have anyone tonight, so I think we can move on with the
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed to our standing committees and task force, beginning with standards and procedures. Who will be presenting of the co-chairs?
Good evening. This is Cassie, and I can present. Hope everyone is doing well. As to our report, we did meet. I wanted to update the commission on the status of our review panels. We had 3 assigned in December. I know of at least 2 have been completed, if not the 3rd as well. So as of the end of the year, we will have 6 review panels completed. So hopefully we can keep the momentum into the new year. In our last meeting, we worked on the mediation policy, and I want to give a big shout out to Commissioner Stevens, who was a huge part in making this possible. She participated in our meeting and drafted this. And so I thank her for all her help in making this possible, but it should have been emailed out to all the commissioners last week. So I would like to open that up if it pleases the chair for a discussion regarding any feedback or whether we want to make a motion to adopt it.
Thank you, Commissioner Shepard, and for the entire Standards and Procedures Committee, and a special thank you to Commissioner Stevens for your work and contributions, as well as Vice Chair Devonish. Are there any questions or comment? Has everyone had a chance to review it? And do we need to discuss?
I know Andrea has asked that it be posted to the chat. Matthew, is that possible?
Yeah, I'll post it.
Thank you. Is it in the chat or can you share on the screen?
Sorry, give me a second. I'm still looking for it. I have a ton of emails.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Oh, thank you.
Can you guys still see that okay?
Is there a way to zoom in a bit more, Kate?
Mhm.
Is that better?
Thanks. Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you.
Nice.
That's it.
Is this the discussion portion of the?
Yes, it is. Feel free to jump in, Commissioner Lord.
This is Commissioner Lord. It seems very thorough and makes sense. And seems even-handed. You know, I guess I have a small amount of despair that we need to have such a thing, right? Because but certainly conflict, I suppose, happens in all contexts, and it's good to have a process for it. So I guess in general, I support it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, what are you proposing that we do at this time, Commissioner Shepard?
I would propose that it be adopted specifically into our handbook code of conduct.
Awesome. I second that, if that was a motion. Okay, let's do roll call.
Sorry about that. My screen was not cooperating. Okay. Hobia?
Yes.
Before we go forward, there's a question from the city attorney's office in the chat that we should probably address before we vote.
And Andrea's her question is, are you referring to placing it in the IOPs? And in response to your question, Andrea, we've had S&P discussions before about including into section 6 of the handbook duties and responsibilities. That would allow us to add it at this meeting and not refer it to the next meeting. Does that answer your question, Andrea?
Sorry for the delay there. Yes, just keeping in mind that you know, the commission handbook is a handbook, not a rule or procedure, but I do think it's a reasonable place for this type of voluntary policy.
Okay, can we resume voting?
Continue? Yes. All right, I'll start over.
Yep.
Hobia?
Still yes.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Fee?
I think you said fee, and it's so yes.
Sorry about that. Bergquist?
Yes.
Herkman?
Yes.
Umake?
Yes.
Robbins?
Yes.
Woodseth?
Yes.
Devonish?
Yes.
And Commissioner Stevens also votes yes. Motion passed.
Thank you.
And then the last matter of business for S&P is during our last meeting, we just had some discussions about the attendance policy. And I know this was addressed in our executive committee meeting, but I know there was some concern about not addressing this within the commission and just informing the commission to how the attendance policy is being enforced. So I'm wondering if we could open that for discussion now, or if old business would be a better time for that.
Old business would be a better time for that.
Okay, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shepherd, and thanks to everyone in S&P for your hard work this year, given the circumstance. Next, we'll have Workforce and Contract Compliance Committee. Either Commissioner Schumache or Kobia.
Yeah, we didn't meet again, so I got nothing. We don't have a chair, so hopefully next year we can have a chair. That's all I got.
That's great. Can you please speak on some of the efforts that you did? Because you did do a lot, and I want to honor and acknowledge the work that you did do, both you and Commissioner Schumache.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I guess, I had a couple meetings with Frank and Kayla, and Kayla and I have had some good discussions about it. I think as far as if I frame it in a way of work to be done next year, I think, if I'm still on the commission and still on the subcommittee, what I would like to sort of focus on or continue to develop is figuring out how we can help the department, especially since they're understaffed, in working on some of these survey type questions, either before or after after the formal legal process goes through the department, so that we can kind of get some more, qualitative or quantitative, hopefully, feedback on what people are going through, and whether they find this to be a good use of their time, and whether they feel heard, and things like that, so that we can maybe improve some outcomes, not from a legal standpoint, but from just a human standpoint. Are people feeling like, okay, yeah, I got my chance to speak? So developing questions for that, figuring out what kind of data we want for that, working with Kayla, hopefully to continue to figure out a way to implement that. And then also, I think the other thing was, working on following up with the contract compliance department at the department, just to see, where they're at and what the hiring and contract situation looks like. Because I think, it's probably a bit wonky because of the year we've had. So getting back on track with that would be my other recommendation for this work going forward.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your efforts again. I think that that's some good groundwork, and hopefully something that can be built upon in the coming year. Commissioner Schumache, do you have anything to contribute? To add, rather?
Not much. I would just emphasize the last point that Commissioner Cobia made, that I really I think it would be good to spend more time and put a little more effort into the city's contract compliance and just kind of looking at trends and where the money is going and how that relates to equity within our city.
Thank you. Thank you both. Much appreciated. Next up, Community Engagement and Research Committee. Lord.
Hi, everyone. So the since the last meeting, a couple of things have happened. The first is that there was a forum with youth that happened on December 18th. It was with the Boys and Girls Club of Minneapolis and Youth Coordinating Board. And I actually was not able to be present at that. I know Chair Robbins as well as Commissioner Stevens were both there. Is there anything either of you would like to quickly report out on that? I know it was only 3 days ago.
Yes. Commissioner Stevens or Commissioner Herkman, any comments?
Oh, forgive me, Paul. I didn't know you were involved in that as well. Sorry, didn't mean to miss you.
No problem at all. I'll keep my comments brief. I found the forum to be my personal favorite over the last year and a half. It was insightful, inspiring, and tragic. I know that's a wide swath of emotion, but to hear the straightforward communication from the students for their organization to their personal experiences and experience with civil servants was, I don't know if it was as much eye-opening as it was reinforcing of the important work that we need to do up and down the generations on this issue.
Thank you. Commissioner Stevens?
I echo what Paul said. It was powerful, and I think tragic's a good word, but also kind of like it inspired some hope as well. These kids were, I shouldn't call them kids, but these young people were frank and smart and thoughtful and real, and really wanted to talk about change and leading change. Yeah, it was probably my favorite thing that we did as well.
Thank you.
I'll just add that did you have a question, Commissioner Lord?
No, please continue, Chair.
No, I'll be brief. I echo what was said. I'll just for context, it was convened by MCCR, and we were fortunate to partner with the Boys and Girls Club, Twin City, and the Minneapolis Youth Congress. It was deeply moving. The youth are highly astute and aware of what's going on. But even in the midst of their fear and anguish, there was hope. I think one of the takeaways was it's something about having the police force be rooted in love, but instead it's rooted in race. It was a very powerful statement, and it really just speaks to the desire expressed that we've been hearing throughout the year about wanting a more humane approach to public safety and engagement. And there is interest in doing more. So I'll leave it at that. Continue.
This might be a good question for Commissioner Stevens. I'm wondering if you could point members of the commission to where they could find the recording of that if they're interested in reviewing it, because I know I certainly am, and was sad I wasn't able to be there. Where can we find that?
So there is a recording on Facebook, but there was an unfortunate lag in the transmission, but I do have the recording from Zoom. So I will either post on Facebook or send it to everyone, or both. Does that sound good?
Great. That sounds perfect. Thank you. The other thing that we've been working on since we last met was a summary report of the activities that we have completed with respect to the policing task force. I believe that the chair via Matthew circulated a copy of that report around to everyone just this afternoon. So I imagine many, if not all of us have had a chance to read it. Maybe Chair, you could weigh in on this. I'm wondering kind of the best way to handle this, because I think it's really, the report has not just a summary of the activities that we've completed, you know, if you can believe it, just since like August, and there's a lot of them, but also kind of weighs in on providing an overview of some of the themes of what we've heard, as well as kind of some endorsements of some of the suggestions that we've heard from either elected officials or community members. So since it does include kind of a point of view on some of these things, I think it's really important that we as a commission, you know, feel like we have consensus on what these things are. So it's only a few pages, and it's pretty big font. So I'm not sure if it makes sense to review it in the context of this meeting, or if it might make sense for us to kind of read and provide feedback. I think what I would suggest is the goal is that we all align on what's in it, and then we share it with the police chief, mayor, and potentially city council and other stakeholders, maybe some stakeholders in the Minnesota legislature as well. Chair Robbins, do you have a point of view on what you think makes the most sense?
All that you have said sounds fine. I've asked Matthew to share it, but I know that he just received a ton of documents from me. So I didn't know if you wanted to walk through the report.
Sure.
I did have, you know, Kate and I kind of looked it over as well. Thanks for sharing with us, and thanks for your work on it. I know that this time has been really busy for all of us. There we go. So we added some extra nuggets, but not to your presentation. So if you want to kind of walk us through this, give us a high-level summary, and then we can go from there.
Sure.
I just thought you might, since you worked so hard on it, I thought maybe you'd want to talk through it.
Yeah, no worries. And really the work is the work the committee and really the broader commission has done since this time period, because each event mentioned in here, each interaction took a lot of work from the standpoint of logistics, scheduling, you know, discussion guides. There's lots of work, and this report's really just, you know, tiny fraction of that. If you actually wouldn't mind just going back to the previous page. So on the previous page, there shouldn't be anything new here. This is just a summary of the goals of the committee that we aligned to, you know, when we set it up. So this should not be new. Just a reminder of why we set this up. And then if you go to the next page, I'm not sure if Matt's driving or Kate, so forgive me here. So this next page is a summary of all of the activities that this policing task force has done since its inception. So we had kind of the ongoing, the ward meetings. We had a conversation with the president of the NAACP. And if anyone has sees a factual error, please call it out to me. I kind of had to go back and reconstruct calendars. So I think this is right, but if something stands out as not being right, please let me know. Conversations with representatives, the chief, etc. That youth forum is the last thing on the list. So speak up if anything isn't looking right. And then if we go, so that's just kind of a summary of all the stuff we did. And then if you go to the next page, this is the stuff you actually need to read. If you could scroll down, please, to this key findings and recommendations page. So this first paragraph basically just says, hey, based on all of the feedback we reviewed, here are some issues and opportunities that we believe, you know, should be prioritized and will contribute to increased safety and equity in Minneapolis. The first one is recognizing that public safety means more than just policing. And I think that was a theme that we heard, you know, from many folks, from the council members that we spoke with, from Representative Moran, as well as from community members. You know, there's clearly recognition in the community that policing is not the best way to address every public safety issue. We endorse thinking about our community needs through the lens of public safety, and this may require a broader array of tools. Oh, I used the wrong form of compliment there, sorry. Furthermore, we endorse leveraging Minneapolis budgets currently designated for policing to support these tools or resources to complement the work of the Minneapolis Police Department. That should be complement with an E. This includes considering supporting violence prevention programs and activities. So that's the first of, I think, 4 or 5 kind of points of view. So maybe I should just stop there. Is there anyone who, you know, disagrees with that or would have a something to add or a disparate point of view? Okay, I will interpret silence as assent. Wait, stop, go back, go up. Okay, you could go up a little more, please. Up a little more. Okay, I'm looking for the next bullet point, which I think is about accountability and transparency. I think there's probably a lag between what you're doing and what I'm seeing, so apologies. If you could go to, stop right there, increase transparency. If you could go to the bullet point that says increase transparency. I think it's up just a little titch. Okay, increase. The second thing we really heard was a desire for increased transparency. The community does not feel like there is adequate transparency into the Minneapolis Police Department. This includes real-time visibility into disciplinary actions, off-duty employment of officers, and coaching and training. The Minneapolis Police Department needs to dramatically improve its communications in this area and provide ongoing disclosure of these activities. So it's our commission calling for more transparency, which I don't think we should find controversial. Any comments or thoughts there? Okay, so kind of the third theme and area of endorsement is increased accountability of Minneapolis police officers. So it's clear, if you could just scroll down a bit, it's clear to the community that officers are not being held fully accountable when they're engaging in bad or even criminal behavior, especially when that behavior infringes on civil rights or results in injury or death to a member of our community. While it's beyond the scope of this commission to provide expert analysis on the cause, feedback collected indicates this may be due to the culture of the department, current union agreements that limit redress and/or antiquated departmental practices. Regardless of the cause, this needs to change. Officers who are in violation of the law, their oath, and/or departmental regulations must be held to account for those behaviors. That accountability must be commensurate with the offense, and criminal charges should be considered even in cases where members, I'm blocked from reading the last line by my thing, of the public are hurt or killed in violation of departmental policy and/or the law. We heard this from a variety of folks from our community forum. We also heard it from the UN event that we did. Kind of ending impunity was a core theme from that conversation as well. One tactic that numerous community members, if we could go down to the next page, suggested to improve accountability is requiring all officers carry personal liability insurance. We suggest that the efficacy of this tactic be explored and evaluated by the city of Minneapolis. So it's really a recommendation to consider, as we're not really experts in the field and really are channeling things we're hearing from other folks. Anything anyone wants to discuss on that point at all? Okay. An additional significant theme was the desire to rebuild trust in the department with the community. That actually goes to exactly what Chair Robbins was talking about as one of the major themes from the youth. You know, in the wake of the killing of George Floyd, the department has clearly lost trust with the community. The community dynamic right now is us versus them. The department needs to take action to change that perception. Community members provided a number of suggestions, including increasing the number of women and people of color in the ranks, increasing the amount of time that officers spend engaging in the community versus policing, and then responding to 911 calls promptly. That came out in some of the ward meetings, as well as our forum with the police chief. And then, so I think that ends kind of the major areas to focus on from that really came up as significant themes. And then I think we have just kind of an ending salvo on the next page. We could maybe go to that. Okay. Shoot. Sorry, my Flash player is trying to reinstall now for some weird reason. So this just basically says that we think these issues should be prioritized, and we express thanks to all the community members and elected officials who took the time to share their thoughts with us. So that is the report that I guess I'm asking for an endorsement from the commission on, so that we may share this out with chief of police, mayor, city council, anyone else we think should have it.
Commissioner Woodseth here with a comment.
Yes, Commissioner Whitsett.
Yeah, so I'm driving. I didn't get an opportunity to read the whole report. I really like everything I'm hearing, and I would be very ready to endorse it. I'm wondering, I'm remembering from my ward meeting that I desire for a residency requirement for police officers. Was that, was I out on an island there, or was that considered in this report? Or is that maybe a separate consideration?
No, I'd be happy to address that. That did come up a couple of times, both from kind of a recommendation standpoint as well as not. There's actually academic research that does not support that at all as having any impact. So I think it falls.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's really mixed, and I feel like, you know, it would behoove us to put our weight behind things that are kind of proven and clearly have clear efficacy. And there is mixed research in that from a more of an academic standpoint.
Really appreciate
Commissioner
that.
Lord.
I would be glad to retract.
Well, that on that note, really quickly, I've heard both. In fact, California is considering that very thing right now, and I think more and more people are starting residency and limited, liability insurance for police officers to carry their own insurance. Commissioner Stevens had a comment, and she also kind of pulled together some of the nuts and bolts of each of these conversations that we had. So I've asked Matthew to share that document. We're not going to go through all of it. It's pretty lengthy, but in your leisure, you may want to spend some time really pouring through it, because we had several meetings this year. As Cindy mentioned, we had the NAACP, we had Communities United Against Police Brutality. You know, we had Representative Rena Moran, Chief Arredondo, Fourth Ward Council member, and actually chair of the Public Safety Committee, who all weighed in and shared great insights. So if you want to see some of the nuts and bolts and some of the progression of the conversation, but it did cover a pretty broad scope. And so I would encourage you all to take a look at that as well. So if Matthew, if you're able to share that first document that you first shared, and then I don't know, Kate, if you want to touch on it or not, or if you had a separate comment.
Well, my comment was just that was one of the residency requirement reform was one of the measures that passed in the House and the Senate last year. So, I mean, that's happening anyways.
Yeah. And Commissioner Kobia, your question about an update on the lack of women. I do know that Chief Rondo had included that in his budget. I think it was for last year. And so they asked for it. The problem, though, is that it's hard for them to recruit women and people of color. And some of the inner divings show that there's a hiccup in the human resource practices. But that is something that they have stated that their goal is. I don't know if that answers your question. And it's also listed in some of these things. Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that in there. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So we'll just scroll through this real quick. So these are some of the notes from the conversation with NAACP. There's a link to their policy recommendations that we may want to sign on to as well. This was a very thorough conversation with Councilmember Cunningham, and a lot of that work did pass in the recent budget. So things are moving, albeit slowly, but things are moving. If I recall, you could scroll down to the next one. Okay, sorry, go back. Can you please scroll back up? I'm sorry. Okay, so part of the issue is that the mayor's making decisions, city council's making decisions, and then there's what the community wants. And so through the budget, they were able to somehow arrive at a both and. No one's ever happy, it's never perfect, but portions of the funds were allocated to things like mental health and wellness, and other restorative justice practices. I know that advocates are wanting more, and they're wanting more community forms of policing as well. So there's that happening. And let's see, but that's an issue. And I know that there's a proposal to give more power to the mayor, but this commission will maybe want to explore should the mayor have all the power, or should it be like in some other cities where the mayor and city council share power somewhat equally or something along those lines? So that's something to consider going forward. Next page. This was interesting. We had a presentation from Elizabeth Adams regarding surveillance technology and military equipment. This is a highly informative conversation. Commissioner Mokri drafted some recommendations about that, which I think Commissioner Stevens will add. But this is something that we definitely endorse the adoption of. So something else for you to consider. Next page. So Commissioner Laura covered most of this. The big takeaway, I think, also is culture, the culture of policing. That's the word that keeps coming up across all of the conversations, whether it was youth, policymakers, you name it. You can change the laws, you can have health and wellness programs, but if the pervasive culture of racism and discrimination persists, then as one of the youth described it, it's basically building new on top of the old. And that's the reason why people are feeling like the policing system as we know it, as a system that's rooted in racism and white supremacy, should be dismantled and rebuilt from a different perspective that is inclusive of the fabric that makes up America today. Next slide or page. Is that it? Perfect. All right. So any other discussion on it? Questions, feedback? So Cindy, my hope is that we can marry both of these documents to give folks some kind of a baseline for that. I love the high level, but I think that we want to maybe show more of our work. Everyone worked really hard on this. This was probably, this committee, CE&R with the Policing Task Force and others really formed the nucleus of the commission this year, and it drove a large portion of our work. So I may be suggesting kind of working through it some more before presenting it, but whatever the whole decides.
Well, I guess my take would be some of the kind of the thoughtful notes Kate has pulled together would be really good appendix items because they support some of the kind of the higher level themes with kind of that next level of detail. So my instinct is that maybe we
agreed
create some like citations maybe throughout it to refer to some of that stuff. And, you know, in order to do the high level overview that I put together, I actually reviewed all of the detailed notes from each and every interaction except for the youth forum, of course, because that had not yet occurred. So maybe we can kind of add a layer.
What would you like to do?
What do you think, Chair, and Kate in particular, because you did a lot of the work, the legwork?
I'm open to ideas. I feel like I'm probably not the visionary in this conversation, but I can execute. So you just let me know.
I think that I support endorsing this as something to be presented, but that we add these items, as you suggested, as you know, appendixes, attachments, and then present it. But I think we have all the elements now. Let's glue them together.
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of connect with Kate offline, because there's also some other, like I have some really good detailed notes that I think Paul helped pull some of them together from some of the council person conversations as well. Then we also have that more detailed consolidation, the input from Chief Arredondo too.
That's right. That's right. I agree. Okay. So are we moving forward with that direction then?
I'm good with that.
So I move that we endorse it, but that the committee will revisit it. Is that a second?
I second the motion.
Okay.
All right, give me 1 second to get the vote ready.
Thank you.
I'm ready to vote yes.
You're not first this time, so just kidding. Kobe. Yes.
Oh no. Yes.
Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Commissioner Fee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergquist,
Yes.
Commissioner Herkman,
Is that
Yes.
Fee?
Commissioner Schumache,
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodseth,
Yes.
Vice Chair Devenish,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stevens votes yes. Motion passed.
Awesome. I want to again thank everyone that's a part of the Community Engagement and Research Committee, along with the Policing and Civil Rights Task Force and everyone else for your hard work. I know it's been a challenging year, so thank you. We couldn't have done this without each and every one of you. Thank you for your leadership, Commissioner Lord. I know that we lost Commissioner Simonis, your right arm, and I know that she greatly supported our work and was a great support to you. So thank you for pulling this together. I don't know if we need to vote on this, but I'm going to propose that in place of doing the Census 20 and the COVID, I have those included in my comments under my report. Does the body support bypassing that part and moving into the UN Task Force report? And forgive my ignorance, is this something that we need to vote on?
Chair Robbins, I think technically it's an amendment to the agenda, but if you ask if anyone has items to present on those two matters and no one has anything, I think you could reasonably roll them into the next one.
Love that. Thank you. Does anyone have anything to add to those items? Excuse me. Okay, so then we will move forward to the UN Task Force. Please proceed, Commissioner Bergquist, Chair of that committee.
I don't really have anything new to report. I gave a year-end summary in writing, which you can all access. I guess something that's slightly connected is on December 10th, which is Human Rights Day. I participated in an online forum or discussion with the City of Minneapolis, the City of St. Paul, and the United Nations Association Minnesota chapter. So that's on the City of Minneapolis's webpage if anyone wants to take a look, but that's really all I have to add.
You kind of cut out. Was that it?
Yes, that's all.
Okay. Thank you as well for your leadership. I know that that meeting, the November meeting, was a postponement. The debriefing was well received. We received some calls on that. So thank you for presenting that on our behalf, and your work representing the commission to the world. Okay, Vice Chair Devenish.
Good
I'm
evening,
sorry.
everybody.
I'm sorry. Vice Chair, forgive me. Commissioner Berquist, are you proposing any future works on this task force for New? I mean, I know you shared the report, but is there any, like a couple of bullets that you'd like commissioners to be thinking about for this work in the new year?
As we discussed in our November meeting, it would be appropriate for the commission to engage with or send a letter to the incoming administration about urging them to accept certain recommendations, but it's premature to do that now. And so with the newly constituted commission, we can revisit that in January.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Devenish, please proceed. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who served on this commission for their hard work and dedication. I know it's not been easy. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but I truly thank everybody for their time and their commitment. I truly appreciate it. And I just want to share that 6,000 face masks, which has been provided through the city of Minneapolis, has been provided to our community members in the city of Minneapolis. I've been sending emails to Matthew, to the chair, and to Frank, who's passed on those updates to all of you. Thank you for that. And thank you, Madam Chair, for putting together the event with the youth. A few days ago, I was able to attend, but only the last, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes. And I think it shows that we as a commission really do need to try to get the youth involved in some form. And so one of the ideas that I brought to the table was working with the urban scholars. And I'm not sure what that would look like, but having access to youth who are already involved with the city of Minneapolis seems like it could be a smooth transition. And if not, what other avenues can we access that would give our youth a voice? Because obviously they have a voice and it needs to be heard. So I think that's it for me, but I just want to take a moment again to thank everybody for their time and their dedication. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Devenish. Your work has been invaluable. I know that it has also been a trying year for you as well, but I so appreciate and I'm grateful for your commitment through it all. And thanks for supporting the commission. I know that you've reached out to commissioners. You took the initiative with rallying the mass and doing several other things to uplift the work of the commission. And so I thank you so much for your leadership and your service. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did forget to mention the Islamophobia. So thank you for signing off on that. And I signed off on as well. So I'm just happy that that's finally signed off, and hopefully we can get maybe a commissioner to sign off on it, a council member to sign off on it, or maybe the mayor. I'm not sure on that, but thank you for your support and thank you for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner, I'm sorry, for Vice Chair Devenish? Okay. Wait, let me check the chat. All right. Matthew, do you have my report? It should say MCCR. If you'd be so kind as to share that.
Working on it right now.
2020 year end, MCCR 2020 year end, and then today's date. While he's looking for that, I'm going to start talking because I am trying so hard to keep these meetings short despite my best efforts. So listen, guys, 2020 has been a year of change, unprecedented shifts to our way of life worldwide. The tremors within the commission in hindsight seem like a premonition of things to come, from the departure of my predecessor, the onset of the global pandemic, unlike any seen since the last century, and to the unfortunate violent murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and the civil unrest that ensued. 2020 has definitely been a year for the books. Nonetheless, we persisted. We quickly rallied together around a singular mission. You can scroll to the next page. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. So we'll stay there for a minute. We quickly rallied around a united and singular, mission in response to the events of the time. We called a special meeting and agreed to form the Policing and Civil Rights Task Force and a COVID-19 work group. We streamlined operations to maximize our time and our talent. We expanded the work of the UN Task Force, representing the Commission as a global liaison. We actively engaged in Census 2020 engagement and awareness, joining several national organizations in a call to extend Census 20 operations to ensure a complete count, particularly in undercounted communities. As a result, Minneapolis captured 80% census participation rates, one of the top, it's 12 actually, in a pandemic, despite the national mood following the chaos of the summer. The Commission rose to the challenge to serve in unprecedented ways. The community engagement and research community served as the nucleus of our efforts this year, creating a resource list in the wake of protests, including pro bono legal services, culturally specific mental health and wellness resources, food and other resources distributed through our channels and networks. Several commissioners, including Schumache, Magan, Devenish, and others, displayed exceptional leadership and community engagement by donating food, delivering masks, and participating in meetings with city council representatives and neighborhood associations, as did Commissioners Herkman, Shabazz, and Simonis. We hosted a series of community conversations with Councilmember Philippe Cunningham, Minneapolis Police Chief Arredondo, the president of the NAACP, Michelle Gross with CUAPB, and our Representative Rena Moran, who led the charge of the Police Accountability Act through Minnesota legislature as part of the POCI caucus. We received numerous testimonials and inquiries from around the world around the changes people would like to see in police and community engagement. We recently heard from our most precious and vulnerable members of society, our youth, who shared their fears and hopes for an evolved form of public safety that addresses intersectional issues of poverty and mental illness, among others. They also envision a form of policing, a society that is rooted in love and a respect for humanity. In the midst of it all, we still had to manage our regular business. We tasked the Standards and Procedures Committee with creating a conflict resolution and mediation policy to guide internal operations, thanks to the efforts of Vice Chair Devenish and Commissioner Catherine Stevens, we also entrusted our panel review process with this committee under the leadership of Commissioner Shepard with support from Mary Fee to create a streamlined process of assigning and managing caseloads in collaboration with the department. To date, we've completed or will have completed 6 panel reviews, for which I'm grateful. Before the elevator broke down, Prince reference, other highlights include executing the Islamophobia resolution, the implicit bias forum led by Commissioner Lord, and the proclamation honoring one of the founding members of this commission, Mr. Ron Edwards, who passed away earlier this year. This was presented by the mayor and I, who declared February 1st Ron Edwards Day. Special thanks to Commissioner Hartz for supporting the drafting of this proclamation. Not all was roses. The COVID-19 work group and contract and workforce compliance committees didn't quite take off for a variety of reasons. However, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the efforts of Commissioners Kobia, Schumache, and Fee in supporting this effort. Despite its failure to launch, I'm hopeful that the groundwork of these dedicated commissioners will take flight in 2021. While police accountability remains the hot topic of the day, the workplace is the next battleground for transformative justice and civil rights. COVID-19 will continue to reveal additional learnings and challenges in the very near future. If you thought masking was polarizing, mask vaccinations will be the next pressing civil rights concern. Equitable access to housing, affordable health care, and socioeconomic welfare of frontline, low-income, essential workers will continue to be the struggle for balance. I want to thank you all for your support of me, even to those of you who weren't necessarily a fan. You showed up, you did your part, and I'm thankful. I didn't have much of a honeymoon period stepping into this role. However, I stand on every decision. I own every misstep and triumph, basing every decision, every direction grounded in fairness, equitable representation of our constituents and our community. We did what we could with what we had, virtually, in 8 meetings and a total of maybe about 100 hours or more with committee meetings. That's quite a feat. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the following commissioners. And when I say their names, please give them a round of applause. So first of all, though she's not here, I want to acknowledge Outgoing Commissioner Miriam. Miriam was the chair when I first joined the commission 3 years ago, and she has informed us that she's not serving any longer. She served 2 terms and I believe was chair the whole time. So please give her a round of applause. Next, I'd like to acknowledge Janelle Schumache. She's had a tough year. I love your heart. I appreciate your efforts and showing up despite all of the personal challenges and your heart for service. And you and I connected even in the midst of COVID and everything, and we coordinated on food distribution, and you remained present to the best of your ability. So I thank you for your outstanding leadership. Please give Commissioner Schumache a round of applause. Mr. Kobia, this guy is the greatest. I know that we had some changes in the committee structure, and I most especially appreciate everyone's ability and support to go with the flow. The idea was to streamline things, to manage our workflows with the limited time that we had. Commissioner Kobia not only served on S&P, but he also signed up right away to support our efforts with the Contract and Workforce Compliance Committee, and was very committed and held several meetings with the department and did a lot of research, as did Commissioner Schumache. So thank him also with a round of applause. Thank you. Yes, I love that. Finally, some Christmas spirit, yes. Next, I want to acknowledge Commissioner Fee. Commissioner Fee also rolled her sleeves up and joined in, pitched in wherever she could. She first supported me with the Census 2020 Task Force, and just overall was very supportive, especially also with the Contract and Workforce Compliance Committee. Please give her a round of applause as well. What's that? I want to acknowledge Commissioner Shepard. Commissioner Shepard, I asked her to take the lead. Is someone talking? I can't hear. If you're not, please mute yourself if you don't mind. Commissioners, we entrusted the panel review process to Commissioner Shepard. I felt like it was something that was best housed within standards and procedures, seeing as they are the law-making, the policy-making arm of the commission. She took it and made it her own and has ensured that we had any panel reviews at all this year, given everything that was happening, and worked very closely with Director Reed to ensure that we were able to hear some of the cases, many of which had been backlogged. So I appreciate her leadership, her heart for service as well, and her willingness to resolve and work through until we get it right. I also appreciate her leadership with the mediation policy, along with Commissioner Fee, who served as co-chair with that committee. Please give a round of applause to Commissioner Shepard. Commissioner Bergquist, our resident international woman of intrigue. Really appreciate her leading with the UN task force. It was very informative, and I felt personally very honored to have our commission have her as one of our elder commissioners, a wealth of knowledge that I would encourage this body to consider how to leverage that brain trust among several of the other attorneys and other commissioners on this body. I know that she worked with Vice Chair Devenish in drafting the Islamophobia resolution and worked tirelessly on the report that was presented to the UN Council. So please give a warm applause for Commissioner Bergquist. I also want to acknowledge Commissioner Lord. Wow, what a journey. She has single-handedly, along with support for Commissioner Simenez, took the lead on crafting and shaping the Policing and Civil Rights Task Force. I know that at first they couldn't wrap their mind around the hybrid committees, but I truly feel like in the end it worked to our benefit to have all hands on deck to work on this particular important, urgent work of our time. So please give a round of applause to Commissioner Lord for her work at serving as the co-chair of CER. A very special thank you to Vice Chair Devenish, my comrade, and dedicated community service. She single-handedly coordinated the distribution of over 6,000 masks on behalf of the commission, not to mention coordinating between the committees, serving as an ambassador to other public entities on our behalf. Please give a very special thank you to our Vice Chair, Cindy Devenish. Last but not least, I want to acknowledge the hard work, commitment, tireless, unquestioning, unwavering support of Secretary Catherine Stevens. I'm trying not to get emotional here. I worked the closest, the longest with Catherine, who helped me make sure we didn't drop any balls. And trust me, there were many, there were many. Her quirkiness, her quick wit, her savvy penmanship, her brilliance as a leader, and someone who could help me blend this thing that we're trying to do of blending what's legal and what's right and what's fair. And we spent many times, many hours poring over documents, trying to explore things, helping me reach out to the commissioners, and keeping this whole thing together. I absolutely could not have done this without her. And for that, she has been awarded the Chair's Award for Outstanding Service and Leadership. Please give her a warm round of applause. So here's the deal. All of you may have or will receive certificate of service from me and the commission. Vice Chair Devenish and Commissioner Stevens will receive the Chair's Award. So those should be in the mail at some point. along with a letter from me to all the commissioners that are still with us. I want to thank you all for being the glue, the heartbeat of the commission. Thank you all for the bottom of my heart. I thank Director Reed for his support in helping me navigate this journey, along with attorney Andrea Nave. And of course, Matthew, who is also our glue and our heartbeat and funneling our numerous documents. All of that hard work and late submissions and getting the stipends is not lost on us. And we so are appreciative and thankful for you. I also want to thank Mr. Dave Bicking for, as Anderson Cooper, AC 360 says, for keeping us honest. I did appreciate his watchful eye. At this time, I should let you know that this concludes my service to the commission. My term is up this year and I did not reapply. It has been my true honor to serve. I'm deeply humbled and grateful for the opportunity. And I thank all those who buoyed me up on my darkest nights and my brightest days. I wish you all the best and continued blessing, with a gentle reminder to stay grounded in your purpose of being here to serve those who can't represent themselves. I will continue on through December 31st to close out any remaining affairs, and I will be available through that time and beyond. January's meeting will be facilitated by Vice Chair Devenish. You should have received the election documents. So those of you that are interested in service, that are interested in running for the seats of chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, I encourage you to apply. There are lots of lessons here, and hopefully you feel like this is something that you can commit to and help our city navigate these troubled waters with race and discrimination and help us find a place of equity. So that concludes my comments. And again, I thank you.
I just want to say thank you for all the nice words you said about me. I got kicked out of the meeting for a lot of it, so I missed it, but came back to hear some of it. So thank you. And thank you for, answering all of my emails and text messages and frantic questions, at basically any hour of the day or the weekend, and giving me guidance, helping me learn how to, basically be on this commission. And I just really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. I see the comments. Thank you all so much. Cassie, thank you for your kind words in your email. I appreciate it. You've been a great partner and supporter, and I mean that as well. Cindy Lord, Cindy Devenish, Commissioner Cobia, thank you all. I appreciate it. Matthew, my brother. Okay, moving on. Director Reed, you've got next.
Wow, I've got to go after that. Oh man, it's like the Beatles went first, and now I gotta go, or John Coltrane, or Miles Davis. Thank you for all of that. I'm gonna be brief. I wanted to give everybody an update about our open appointments process. All our interviews are complete. Final list is going to be submitted to the mayor and the city council hopefully by the end of the week so that they know what we're doing. I want to thank everybody that helped us throughout the process of interviewing people. We've got a very good slate of folks to move forward. So to those of you who are leaving and not going to be here in the coming year, know that the work is going to be in good hands. So that's a good outcome in the grand scheme. I wanted to note that, as you all know, because I'm the new interim director, that I needed to find someone to come in and do some of the work for the Complaint Investigations Division, and also to take some of the weight of work with the commission. So Kayla is going to be detailed to do some of that work. I will still remain engaged with the commission, but I wanted to give that update. So she will begin her duties in January. Looking forward to working with her in her new role. And lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. All the work that everyone's done is amazing during this time. And to those commissioners who are leaving, they won't be forgotten. They'll be missed. Just tremendous amount of work during a very difficult time. But I also, not to be unfair to all of that, I want to give a special shout out to Chair Robbins. Having a friend in the midst of all of this work has been an amazing experience for me. And having the opportunity to stand together with you and getting some of this work done has been a tremendous experience. And I feel like I've gotten better as a leader as a result. And what you just did tonight, just showing people appreciation, it's something it's a lost art, but it's not altogether lost. That was a beautiful thing tonight. And so I appreciate you, and I appreciate you, everything that you've done. So much light, love, and a big heart. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Reed. Much appreciated. Okay. I don't think the Director of Contract Compliance is here.
Chair Robbins.
Yes.
Amy asked about knowing the names of the commissioners who will be returning so they can be acknowledged and thanked, and I don't.
We won't know that until after tonight's executive committee meeting. Any other questions? Okay. Unfinished business.
Chair Robbins.
Yes.
Amy followed up with the ones that we are aware of right now. Could we acknowledge and thank them? I know, well, I know you referenced Commissioner Mokri earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, not to interrupt. I do have a list. Okay. I was actually going to go and do that, so I appreciate the direction.
Okay, proceed. Thank you, Director.
Yes, no, it's my pleasure, my pleasure. So I will begin. Parnas Kasemi, Sadiqa Shabazz, Lee Linderman, Anika Robbins, of course, Miriam Mokri, Libby Simones, Casey Megan up to this point, and there may be additional at the end of the meeting tonight.
Any other questions? And of course, former chair, Al Cornish, want to definitely acknowledge him as well.
Good point.
He started the year with us. Yes, I just wanted to make sure that we give that. And he did serve as the chair the previous year. So definitely want to acknowledge that. Service is not always easy, and for better, for worse, much honor and respect to those who step up to take the lead. So thank you. And thanks again to all of you. Okay, unfinished business. Any items here?
There was the item that was referred from the Standards and Procedures report.
Okay, who would like to present that?
I'm happy to do so. I had raised the issue in the Standards and Procedures meeting. There seems to be an issue with our commission not following the attendance and removal policy. I'll put a link in the chat so that everyone can follow along to see what we're talking about here. And if you scroll to page 11 of the document, section 601, that's the operative text that we're looking at. It was brought to my attention because I was copied on some correspondence by which it appears that the chair terminated one of the commissioners not in compliance with section 601 of the attendance policy, and I was involved with drafting this policy, so I was disappointed to see this happening. What is supposed to happen is if a person is determined to be absent from a commission meeting and hasn't already given notice of their absence and a reason to have it excused, is that the executive committee is supposed to meet and determine, like, were these people absent? And if you'll see under 2C, the executive committee is supposed to notify the department, which would be Matthew, I assume, of the names of the commissioners who are absent, and then Matthew or somebody from the department is supposed to send an email, and the block text under 2D is the email that is supposed to be sent. The reason this was developed is so that commissioners would know that they were being counted absent and that they were being counted as unexcused, so that they can follow up and follow the procedures and the policy. The commissioner who seemed to have been terminated by Chair Robbins never received those notifications, had just been deemed that his absences were unexcused. So the procedure wasn't followed. And in my view, the chair was acting outside of the scope of her authority because she wasn't following section 601 of our internal operating procedures. And I think it's a concern to me because we developed these procedures to make everything as clear and transparent as possible, so that commissioners would know when they are being counted as absent and unexcused absent, that they can explain why they were absent and ask that absence be deemed excused if circumstances warrant, and that wasn't done in this case. So that's my note of concern. I don't know what's happened since that time, but for the commissioner involved, I got the impression from the correspondence that he was quite upset about what happened and how it was handled, and I think it's worth having a discussion, and I would support as a motion, if there's a second for it, that the commission issue an apology to Commissioner Farrar, who was affected by these actions.
Comment.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
So I first want to acknowledge your comment, Commissioner Berquist, in referring to the same policy. The very first thing is that the commissioner should contact the chair or vice chair of their absence. That did not happen. I also want to clarify that I have my notes on this. I'm scrolling down. So that was the first thing. We weren't notified, and there were several absences. And so there's a line of text in here that I'm looking for where it is considered that they have forfeited their seat, which is why we move forward with the However, after consulting with the attorney, we realized that there were a few steps on the part of both the commission and the department that were not followed. So we redirected, and with the guidance and input from the attorney, we reformulated the document and sent it out and invited and made sure that we expressly clarified that they had the option to request that their absence be deemed excused or provide a reason for it. I should say also that this was not that a particular commissioner was singled out. There were 4, if not 5, if memory serves, that received those notices. One of the commissioners had 9 absences. The the commissioner in question not only made an assumption about a absence or leave policy, which does not exist within our rules, and made the assumption that he was approved to not attend. I also believe that our rules called for that each time that a commissioner is absent, that they have to notify and let the chair and the vice chair know. And so while they may have let they let the department know, but they didn't let myself know, they didn't know Vice Chair Devenish know. And then in the case of one of the commissioners, hadn't attended any of the monthly commission meetings nor the subcommittee meetings, and then just started reattending again after we had sent the initial letter and didn't respond. We sent the updated and revised, corrected, and we asked commissioners to respond with their intent to appeal, because that was a part of the process that we did, kind of bypass. And it wasn't our intention. And I was very adamant about making sure that commissioners knew that they had a right to appeal, or at least share with the executive committee why they were absent. And when asked Commissioner Farr, he said he didn't know when he could attend the meetings again. And when we asked if he could appeal, he's not able to, because where he is, there's a 6-hour, 12-hour difference. So he was not even able to appear to appeal. And so I want to be very clear. We messed up, but we all signed on and committed to the attendance policy. This body also voted to adopt this policy that would include counting the sub attendances, which had not previously been the case. And so there's an issue with that. We all committed to showing up, participating in the monthly committee meetings, and showing up and participating in our subcommittee meetings. All of you did that. And then the ones that truly, I believe, behaved honorably, those that could no longer serve because of change in circumstance with employment or work and family obligations became overwhelming, they respectfully withdrew and allowed that space to open up for other commissioners who could make the time. And so I don't want us to, it was very important, and my fellow executive committee members will affirm that. Equity was the case. And so, in advocating for, Dave, but then we have other commissioners who also requested a leave. And when informed that we don't have that policy, they withdrew, because they knew that even still they would not be able to honor that attendance commitment. And so we're not in the business of singling out commissioners, erroneously or disenfranchising anyone, but we're also not in the business of showing favoritism and nepotism for someone who unfortunately had a change in their circumstance and still is unable to attend the meetings. And so that's where things are at. We did not hear back. One of the commissioners resigned. The other two or three of the commissioners resigned. One did not respond and has not requested an appeal. And once, whatever we decide. Also, there were commissioners, and for the sake of making my point, including Vice Chair Devenish, we're on the brink of having too many unexcused absences. And we sent notifications to them. And they immediately replied with a contrite, response, expressing their dedication to the commission. And they detailed the dates, because we detailed all the dates that they had missed, and they shared the reasons, whether they were excusable or not. But we thought that they demonstrated the desire to serve. And so we moved forward and we forgave those absences. And so the process, you have to inform the chair of your absence. And then, we proceed with issuing letters and so forth, right? And then if a person wants to appeal that, they simply have to share their reasoning. And then the executive committee has to decide on whether or not it's a reasonable excuse and was it done in enough time. And that was the other issue, was that a lot of times these came in after the fact, after they had already missed. And so then after you submit, you have an opportunity to appeal. And then the executive committee can, deliberate. And then if even after that, if a person still doesn't want to accept that, then they can come to the commission and plead their case. And so that's what we were attempting to do. But absolutely by no means are we trying to disenfranchise, but we're also not showing undue favoritism to any one member of the committee, especially when so many of you also have families. Some of you are students. The Community Engagement and Research Committee met twice a month, sometimes for 2 and 3 hours. So it's a matter of commitment. That's all I have to say on that. And so I hope that answers your question.
If I may respond.
By all means.
Thank you. Just like a landlord can't evict someone without following the law for eviction, the commission does not have the authority to kick someone off the commission under the attendance policy if the commission itself isn't following that policy. Commissioner Farrar did not receive the email notifications that are set forth under Section 6101 of our internal operating procedures. Now, if other commissioners were in the same situation and didn't receive those emails after they were absent from commission meetings, they also should not have been terminated from the commission. So this is not, in my view, an issue for consideration or deliberation or a vote by the executive committee. This is the executive committee and the chair were not following our own attendance policy, and therefore they don't have the authority to remove people because they weren't holding up their obligations under that policy. Chair Robbins repeatedly just said that it's up to the commissioner or who's going to be absent to notify the chair. If you read Section 601, it doesn't say that. It does not say that. It says that the commissioner has to give timely notice of their absence. And if there's some miscommunication or something, like the commissioner thinks that they gave timely notice, as it seems Commissioner Farrar did because he requested compassionate leave, then the next step would be if he thinks he has requested an excused absence and the chair or the executive committee don't, then the next thing that would be triggered is that email being sent out to Commissioner Farrar so that he would know that there's a misunderstanding here. He thought he had requested that his absence be considered excused and his upcoming absences be considered excused because he had to leave the country to go to Spain to care for his elderly mother who is extremely ill. That email would have notified him that, hey, there's a misunderstanding about the attendance policy and how it's being applied to you. He did not receive those email clarifications that were supposed to be sent within a week after each commission meeting. And by the text of the policy, he cannot be removed from the committee for failing to satisfy the attendance policy. It's simply unfair, and it would be unfair to other members of the commission as well if they were terminated from the commission because of failure to comply with the attendance policy when the executive committee was not following the requirements that are set forth in Section 601. So I understand that mistakes happen, and I appreciate that, but commissioners who are harmed by those mistakes shouldn't have to suffer the penalty that apparently Commissioner Farrar is being asked to suffer. He could very well request, and I think he had this understanding that he was requesting excused absences going forward until he's able to return to the country. but he was never given that opportunity to clarify himself. And so I think, again, that because the policy wasn't followed, he should not be terminated. And I also would renew my suggestion, my motion to have the commission issue an apology to him, because I think he was quite hurt by the way he was treated by the commission.
So as I'm looking at this policy, if a commissioner has more than three unexcused absences in a calendar year, that commissioner shall be dismissed from the commission. Number 2.b, a commissioner may contact the chair or vice chair at any time to request that the executive committee excuse an absence. Okay, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I've said what I've had to say about it. You know, to single him out, quite honestly, feels very because there were other commissioners as well. We don't have a leave policy, and so he made an assumption about it. And each time a commissioner is going to be absent for each meeting, it's on them to let us, and that didn't happen. So at this point, I think we can open it up for discussion. This is something that was still within executive committee. I really have nothing more to add to it. Like I said in my closing comments that, you know, I stand on my decisions. I owned up to the misstep, and we went back and we corrected course. And so we undid the dismissal. However, the policy says if a commissioner has more than 3 unexcused absences in a calendar year, that commissioner shall be dismissed. And so if we go and try to cherry pick which commissioners we want to plead the case for, what does that really say, and how does that reflect on the commission? And those were the guiding decision-making elements that influenced where we're at. We went back and extended everyone an opportunity to say that they wanted to stay. And so that didn't happen. So, you know, if any of the other commissioners would like to chime in, feel free to do so. I think it's a slippery slope when we start making concessions for one person and not the other.
Cool. I appreciate your thoughts and your comments. This is Vice Chair Devenish. Everything that you're saying.
Yes, ma'am, please. I'm sorry. Oh.
Chair Robbins.
Yes.
I kind of wrote my thoughts in the comments, so I won't repeat them, but I guess I just want to know if we were going to have a discussion about this particular attendance issue in the executive meeting today, right?
We are. And so I'm moving that we table this until after that meeting, and then the executive committee members can deliberate further, and they can bring decision back to the full body in January or whenever the next meeting is.
I second that motion. This is Commissioner Lord to address this in our executive committee meeting. That is the place that we've deemed attendance to be kind of adjudicated. So that seems appropriate.
Thank you. Can we take a vote, please? Commissioner
Yes.
Stevens? Thank you.
Cobia,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Lord,
Yes.
Fee,
No.
I didn't hear my name called, but I usually come after Fee. This is
Yeah.
Commissioner Bergquist saying no.
sorry, I did say Bergquist. Kirkman,
Yes.
Shoemake,
Yes.
Chair Robbins,
Yes.
Woodseth,
Abstain.
Devenish, Vice Chair Devenish,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stevens votes yes. That is 8 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention.
Okay.
I'll renew my motion that the commission issue an apology to Commissioner Farrar for the way he was treated throughout this process. That's irrelevant to the determination of whether he's excused or not. I'll renew that motion and ask for a second.
Commissioner Lord seconds the motion.
One moment, please. Cobia,
Am I muted? No. Okay. Yes.
Shepherd,
I would abstain.
Lord,
Yes.
Fee, Commissioner Fee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bergquist,
Yes.
Kirkman,
Abstain.
Shoemake,
Abstain.
Robbins,
No.
Woodseth, Commissioner Woodseth,
Abstain.
Devenish, Vice Chair Devenish,
No.
Chair Devenish, Vice Chair Devenish, could you say it again? Was that a no?
I said no.
Okay. And Commissioner Stevens votes no. 4 yeses, 4 abstentions, and 3 noes.
Okay. Moving on to a. Are there any?
Did you say new business?
Real quick, can you clarify?
Oh.
Does that mean that passes, Andrea, or does that mean it doesn't pass?
It means that it passes to issue an apology to David Farrar.
That's correct.
I have a question. Can we pass a motion to send an apology to the rest of the commissioners, please?
Seconded, if that was a motion.
Could someone explain more what that means? I'm sorry, I don't think I understand what that means.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, to me, that means treating everyone fairly and setting a true tone of equity, and once again being fair, because I think we're just saying David name, and it's unfair to not name the others who served on this commission. They have names and they deserve to be treated equally and not unfairly. That's the problem of this commission. I'm sorry, over and over, but I would like to bring that vote.
This is a true, like an honest question. Were other commissioners also dismissed from the commission? And I'm putting this in air quotes, kind of improperly. Is that a true
So
fact?
that's the thing. I think
sorry.
it's important to restate again. Can you hear Cindy?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to restate again that dismissal letters were sent and then a different set of letters were sent. So the dismissal letters were retracted and the correct information was sent. And so they had a chance to then appeal, deny, whatever. They had that opportunity presented, which is the reason why I am not issuing an apology. But it is for the commission to decide how to proceed. And I do not believe that we are acting in the best interests of the public or the commission by singling out any one commissioner when several, all have missed meetings. And I think that that's the point that's getting lost in the mix, and processes were not followed. We apologized, redirected, and issued updated documents that clearly detailed what the process was, allowing folks to stake their claim. So the vote right now is to do that, but then there is a motion by Vice Chair Devenish to then do the same for the other commissioners. And I believe it was seconded. So receivable on that.
Sorry, it was kind of a poor connection. Do you want me to do the roll call?
Yes,
Can we have
please.
discussion on the motion, please? I mean, discussion is appropriate. It's a substantive motion and the question hasn't been called. I have questions about the motion that would affect how I vote.
Discussion is appropriate under the rules here.
Okay, so my question is, I'm not privy to any of the situation other than Commissioner Farrar's, which is why I made the motion with respect to Commissioner Farrar's. So for the other commissioners for whom this apology would apply, I would like to know whether they were removed from the commission pursuant to the attendance policy not being followed, which is to say that the emails were not sent out after the meetings when they were deemed absent. I'm still speaking, so just let me finish my question first. So did they not receive that notification from the department saying that they have been determined to be absent and telling them what the attendance policy is after every meeting that they missed? So did they or did they not receive those notifications? Basically, was the attendance policy also not followed in these other circumstances? That's the information I'm seeking.
They all received the same documentation. So the people who initially received the dismissal letters received the updated information. And then the commissioners who were at risk of running into the notion of the attendance was notified. But that just only took the one time, and there hasn't been an issue since. Any other discussion?
Is it fair to say that the commissioners besides Commissioner Farrar voluntarily resigned?
I would say that's fair.
Is that a fair characterization? Just recognizing kind of their struggle to be as present as the commission required, and that it's Commissioner Farrar that is
No one is
not.
disputing where. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. I'm just honestly trying to understand the situation. That's all.
So Cindy, there's some disconnection. There's some connectivity issues. So if I was talking over you, my apologies. There really is no issue with any of the other commissioners, as I mentioned. They recognize that they failed to abide by the attendance policy, and when informed both times, they withdrew, or they did not seek to pursue it further.
Thank you. That answered my question well.
Any other discussion?
Commissioner Schumache here. Maybe a suggestion for moving forward is that we could establish if we would want to allow a leave or not within our rules so that we would have something to go to. But ultimately, I see this situation with Commissioner Farrar as we have a residency requirement for being on the commission. And so other commissioners this year have resigned when they've moved out of the city. And so I think that would be one thing to consider. But ultimately, I go to the North Star of serving the community. And if you have the time and capacity, great, put it in. If you don't, then vacate that spot so then we can allot that to another resident who wants to put in the work.
Thank you, Commissioner Schumache. I think that those are certainly things that the commission may want to consider. You know, we know that life happens. This was not at all malicious intent. But I will keep reiterating that we're all impacted by the pandemic. We're all working remotely. And if anything, working remotely should have made it easier to attend and participate in the meetings. Many of us are parents, some are students. But I think that those are certainly things to really think about. Does the attendance policy serve our current needs? But I would refer that to the incoming body to deliberate. But I think it's certainly a worthwhile effort. And the residency is a good point as well. So we're talking about someone who has missed, you know, I want to say 8 of the full commission meetings and several of the subcommittee meetings. So we're not unsympathetic, but we still have to, you know, manage our business, and we have to be respectful of the commissioners who remain. So, but anyway, can we vote on this, or are we tabling that for further discussion? The motion on the table is issuing apologies to the other commissioners. Even I do want to point out that I feel like that's null and void to issue apologies to anybody, because in many respects, that was already done. We sent the updated information and invited people's responses. But if that's what the body decides, that's fine. So at this point, what would you like to do?
This is Commissioner Devenish's motion. I would invite her to clarify what you would like done, maybe?
I personally think that as civil rights commissioners, we have a responsibility to treat all community members fair and set a tone of equity in our community. If we do not, we failed our community. So we're focusing on one person and not all individuals who may have been affected. And if we are going to talk about one person, then I think we should talk about all of them. But I agree with the Madam Chair's decision and the thought process of we all have our responsibilities, and as commissioners to communicate what's going on. And there is no policy of just having an open-ended leave and leaving a commission chair vacant that could be filled for a community member who wants that spot. So I just want to say that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate that. Any other questions on this motion? Move to voting, please.
Cobia,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Lord,
Yes.
Fee,
Yes.
Bergquist,
Yes.
Herkman,
Abstain.
Schumache,
Yes.
Robbins,
Sure.
Woodseth,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Devenish,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stevens is yes. 2 abstentions, the rest are yes. Motion passes.
Okay. Wonderful. Any announcements?
We do have some new business. I apologize. We need to vote on next year's meeting dates.
That's right.
Um,
Does Matthew have those
I
that
can,
you pulled up, or you?
yeah.
Okay.
Can everybody see that okay?
Yes, thank you.
So just want me, any discussion about this? Do these look okay?
Just the second, number 2 should be 4th Monday in February.
Is that it? That is the 4th. Are you clarifying or?
It just says 4th Monday in January.
Oh, sorry, I missed what you're saying. Okay.
Other than that, looks good.
Thank you. Anything else? Matthew, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I did want to add that I do not believe there will be a meeting in January, as the clerk's office is kind of doing like a reset on the process for meetings. So I think they're taking January to kind of just work through stuff. So I haven't confirmed, but I was told this afternoon that we will not be having meetings in January.
So the next meeting might not be until February.
Yes, you'll receive more information on that like as it comes, but just FYI.
Okay.
Thank you, Matthew. So basically approve all the dates other than January?
I would go ahead and approve January just in case. And then we can cancel that, but.
Okay.
Motion to approve all the dates, including January. We'll do
Seconded.
All right. Sylvia?
Since I don't want to have an aneurysm in February, would just like to make a point of order that February be designated January if we don't have a January meeting, because in our internal operating procedures in our handbook, it says we have to elect people in January at the January meeting. I don't know why that doesn't say first meeting, but it says the January meeting. So anyway, with that in mind, I say yes.
So you want me to do what? Call February, January?
I don't want you to do anything. I just want to say it.
Okay. Shepherd?
Yes.
Lord?
Yes.
Fee?
Yes, I'm excited for February.
January, yeah. Berquist?
Yes.
Kirkman?
Yes.
Shoemake?
Yes.
Robbins?
Yes.
Widseth?
Yes.
Devenish? Vice Chair Devenish? Vice Chair Devenish, is that a yes?
Yes, yes.
Sorry. And Commissioner Stevens votes yes, motion passes.
Okay. Lastly, you all should have received some the documents on elections. I think I may have alluded to that. So those of you that are thinking of running, give it some thought. And there'll be more discussion to review what that process looks like. So yeah, is there any other new business or any business? Okay, I call for the meeting to be adjourned. Do I have a second?
Has an announcement that she posted.
I don't need to say
I'm
anything
sorry.
about it. I just posted the information in the chat.
Okay, I'll put it in the minutes.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair Robbins, go ahead.
Okay, do we have a second to adjourn?
Seconded by Stevens. And we have never done a roll call vote for this, and I don't want to start now.
I agree. Thank you all for your service and your
Seconded.
leadership.
It's not
Happy
necessary.
holidays and a smooth transition to the new year. Be well. Good night.
Don't forget to stay on for the executive committee meeting. Oh, shoot.
Thanks for everything, Chair Evans. Bye-bye.